you've had a great summer. As we start a new school year together, I want to talk about 3 words today: grit, resilience, and perseverance. Now let's think about this related to sports, okay? I know we have a lot of athletes in our building. If you go to practice every day and you don't give 110% at practice, and you don't try to get better at all the skills that your coaches are teaching you, and you don't push through and find it within yourself to not give up and to keep going even when you're tired, what's gonna happen? You're not gonna do well in your competitions or your games, right? Experts say that it takes 10,000 hours to become a professional or to become perfect at something. So why can't we apply those same rules of practicing and pushing through when times get hard during sports to school? Well, the good news is we can, right? The words grit and perseverance, they kind of work together. So I want you to imagine your teacher gives you this long reading passage and you look at it, and before you even start reading, you go, oh my gosh, I don't know what these words mean. This is so long, it's gonna take me forever. That's not setting you up for success, right? But during the reading passage, I want you to give it your all. I want you to push through, and I want you to find it within yourself to keep going, even when you're bored, or even when stuff doesn't make sense. Keep going and keep trying. That's all we ask of you, is to try, right? Then let's say you give that reading passage your best effort, or you give that math problem your best effort, and you still end up not getting a great grade on it, or you still end up getting to the end of it and you're like, I have no idea what I just read, or I have no idea how to even solve that math problem. Picking yourself up and trying again and being willing to make mistakes, but then learn from them, that's resiliency, right? That's having resilience. That means that you don't give up. Even when things might be difficult for you, you keep going, you try again, even when you fail. Sometimes we can learn from failing. The first book I want to share with you today is called Fail-Abration, and it says, you tried, you missed, you're invited. And it's written by Brad and Christy Montague. What I love about this book is it's full of failures. It's full of kids that tried something that they weren't good at, or whatever they tried to do, it didn't go the way that they expected it to, right? But instead of being upset about failing at something, what if we celebrated it? What if we threw a party? What if we wore a party hat when something didn't go our way, or we weren't great at something that we expected to be great at? What if we threw a celebration and called it a fail-abration? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be a better way to look at failure? Because failure does turn into learning. When you're not good at something, or when you fail at something, but then you pick yourself back up, resiliency, and you try again and you learn from your mistakes, that's something to celebrate. So I encourage you to check out this book and celebrate failures.
Uh-oh.
The next book I want to show you is a book called Abdul's Story, and it's written by Jamila Tompkins Bigelow and illustrated by Tiffany Rose. Now, our main character in this story, Abdul, he loves telling stories, and he loves sharing stories with his classmates and with his friends. But when Abdul goes to write down these stories, he has a really hard time with writing, and he has a really hard time with keeping things neat on his paper. He even starts to do something that we should never do, which is he starts to compare himself to other classmates in his class and wonders why he can't write the same way his classmates do. However, he has a teacher that comes in and is working with them on writing, and this guest teacher, this guest writer, gives him some pointers and gives him some advice about how to be more confident in his writing. And so I won't spoil it for you, but I do want you to see that Abdul finds something that he's not great at, right? He needs to work at it, but he has grit and he has perseverance and he is resilient. And in the end, you need to see what happens. You need to see how Abdul changes throughout the story.
Uh-oh.
Our last book talk is Aaron Slater Illustrator, written by Andrea Beatty and illustrated by David Roberts. What I love about this book is our main character, Aaron Slater, he recognizes that he's not great at reading and writing. He wants to tell stories, but when he puts words on paper, sometimes he writes them backwards, sometimes they just look like squiggles, and he becomes really self-conscious about it, and he doesn't really like sharing his work with his classmates. But Aaron Slater has grit, he perseveres, and he is resilient because he finds a way to tell stories that plays to his strengths, something that he's good at. He finds a way to share stories with his classmates where he can show his talents and show his skills in a way that makes sense to him. So I won't give away what he does to share those stories because I want you to read this book, but I do want you to see the beautiful illustrations, which makes sense because our main character is a great artist.
Uh-oh.
So just like an athlete has to have grit, has to persevere, has to be resilient, I hope that you will see that students have to do the same thing. You, just like an athlete has to work out and an athlete has to practice, you have to practice skills. You have to push through when times are hard. You have to push through when a math problem is difficult or a reading passage is really long. You have to find a way to get through those things to ultimately find success in the end. And I know that you're going to feel so great about yourself when you persevere and when you pick yourself up and try again. And I hope that you will celebrate mistakes that you make. I hope that your teachers will celebrate the learning that you have from your mistakes with you. And I hope that these will be good reminders for us for the school year to always pick ourselves up and to keep going and to not be afraid to put in those 10,000 hours to become perfect at something. This book is called Celebration. This book is about Abdul, and Abdul loves to tell stories, and he really likes to draw. We don't draw, we write stories. This book is called Aaron Slater Not Investigator, Illustrator.